Hello, and welcome to day one of learning backend development from chatgpt. So let's get started. So, like we do with all these series, we need to create a curriculum for the future videos. So please create a 30, or shall we do 30 day or 15 day? I think I'll make it 15 day this time. Curriculum for learning backend development. Please give the specific topics for each day and the assignments topics for each day. Okay, yeah, that should be good. Please just give me the curriculum. I'll ask you to give me the lessons later. I'll say inextensive. There we go. So just a bit of background information of this. So I'm currently trying to build a social media app. I've done the front end, but I also need to integrate it with backend. So okay, let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to be covering Node.js, so Express.js, SQL, NoSQL, so MongoDB. Oh, she got MongoDB one, but like I'm having errors in connecting, so this is partly why I wanted to do this course. Connecting Express to MongoDB, working with Mongoose, user authentication, so like OAuth. I do have OAuth in my application in a minute. So Google authentication, securing APIs, file upload management, building RESTful API, deploying backend applications, WebSockets, real-time communication, caching, and optimization. Okay. Now please give me day one of this curriculum. So I'm just going, like we did with the machine learning course. I'm going to copy paste this, and then the format of the lesson should be what the topic is, some examples, explaining the examples, then some assignments or questions. So give me day one now, please. Okay, let's see. So just an overview of backend development. So day one, introduction to backend development. Overview of client-server architecture, what the topic is. Okay, so client-server architecture is the foundation of web applications. It refers to the way web applications function, where the client, often a web browser, interacts with the server to request data or perform actions. Example, when you open a database, your browser client sends a request to the server, which then processes the request and sends back the requested HTML page, image, or data. For instance, when you visit example.com, your browser sends requests like get index.html, http 101 host example.com. So this is when the browser is sending a request, the get request, and then that request is processed and the index.html page is sent back. Then the server responds with HTTP 1.1, so that's what we asked for here, 200 OK, and content type text HTML. Okay, then it goes to HTML. So explaining the examples. The client is the device or software, usually a web browser, that makes requests to a server. It could be a mobile app, desktop app, or even another server. The server is responsible for receiving the request, processing them, e.g. Fetching data from a database, and sending a response back to the client. So a server can handle multiple requests at the same time. Okay, so the client-server model ensures separation of concerns. The client focuses on displaying information to the user, while the server manages data and processing. 2. The role of backend in development. So The backend is part of the web application that ensures business logic, data storage, and server-side processing. It ensures that the client can retrieve and manipulate data through APIs, application programming interface. Example, when you log into a website, the backend checks your username and password in the database, verifies the information, and generates a session or token to keep you logged in. For instance, on an e-commerce website, the front end displays the products, the backend retrieves product details from the database, processes payments, and updates order statuses. So, explaining the example, the backend is responsible for the heavy lifting behind the scenes, such as fetching user data, updating databases, and performing calculations. It's like the brain of the web application. For instance, when you log in, the backend will receive the login form data, query the database for user record, check if the password matches, if correct, generate a session or token for that user. For instance, there's a Node.js package, I think it's Google OAuth or something, where you can just wrap your, for instance, in a React application, you can wrap your, just like React code in a Google OAuth or something or other, and it like does this all for you. So you need to do is pass in your token, I can't remember the name, but you need to deserialize it basically using JWT decode. So introduction to HTTP and REST. Wait, is it giving me all of them? No. Okay, so HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is a protocol used for communication between a client and the server. REST, representational state transfer, is an architectural type that uses HTTP for building APIs in a way that is stateless and resource-based. Examples: HTTP request methods get request data from the server, so we're, for example, getting the index.js from example.com. Send data to a server using post. Put, update a resource on a server, and delete a resource from the server. So, for example, get API products retrieves a list of products from the server. Post API products adds a new product to the database. API products 1 updates product with ID 1. Delete API products 1 deletes product with ID 1. I assume API-products would delete the whole data. Or there might be safety measures in place to ensure that this sort of thing can't happen. Okay, so HTTP. The protocol defines how messages are formatted and transmitted between the client and server. So it's just the hypertext transfer protocol. So how they're formatted and transmitted includes headers, metadata, and body, the actual data. RESTful APIs follow principles like statelessness. No data is stored between requests and resource-based routing. Data is treated as resources, e.g. users, orders. REST APIs are commonly used in modern web development because of their simplicity and scalability. So back-end versus front-end development. So the front end refers to everything that the user interacts directly with, so the UI and UX, user interface. So the back end refers to the server-side logic, database management, and data processing. E.g., front end, so when you fill out a form on a website, the form field design and validation are handled by the front end, so basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Well, the JavaScript on the front end, because you can have also JavaScript as a back end with, for instance, Node.js. So backend, when you submit the form, the backend receives the data, validates it, and stores it in the database. Which could also be done using JavaScript, but there's also several others, like you can use Java, Golang, and several others. Explaining examples, front-end developers focus on user interface, animations, responsive design, and the user experience. Technologies include HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Back-end developers focus on server-side logic, databases, and authentication, and API development. Technologies include Node.js, Python, databases, MySQL, MongoDB, etc. Yeah, Python's a big one again. I think use Django as a major one. So the backend is what powers the logic and data handling behind the scenes, whereas front end is what the user sees and interacts with. So assignments. Client-server architecture. Explain in your own words how this client-server architecture works. Can you imagine an example of a real-world application using this model? Yeah, okay. So the client is basically our browser. It's requesting data from our server. So the server then handles this request and maybe gets some data back from the database and gives it back to the original front end. So for like this in blog websites, the client requests the blocks that are on the database using the server. The server like decodes this request and performs the action and returns it back to the user. So role of backend. Describe 3 important responsibilities of backend in a web application. So for authentication, storing data, and what else could we say? I don't know the third. Oh, responsibilities. Maybe that it's secure, does interoperate with the front end, and it's quite fast. HTTP and REST. What is the difference between a GET and POST request? So GET is where you get data from a server, and POST is where you just like put data on it. Sorry, no, not put. You give data to the server. Can you give an example where we would use each? So yeah, GET. Say we're getting the index HTML from example.com. POST. Maybe we're sending some data from a form in maybe Google. Yeah, just like login, creating a username and password. So backend versus front end. List 2 tasks that would typically be handled by the backend, and 2 tasks that would handled by the front end in web application. So backend storing data authentication, front end would be animation and like the visual looks, like so accepting user, having the user input. But yeah, extra trying to set up a basic HTTP server using any programming language you're familiar. Node.js recommended. Responds with a simple hello world message when it accessed. So, well, ChatGPT hasn't given us any really information on Node.js, so I'll just leave that one for today. So yeah, that's all for day 1 of learning backend development for ChatGPT. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.